Hello. Oh,
How
hold on.
hold on one second. I'm still getting my camera on here.
No problem. I gotta get my speakers. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Actually, it's the speakers in the. Okay, never mind. I got it.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go.
Nice.
Oh, that's so much better.
Nice. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for doing this.
We're just sitting here. No worries.
Awesome.
I have to leave at 8 o'clock. So other than that, we're
Okay.
good until then.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. That
Oh, no
works
problem.
out.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of just gonna go with it.
Yeah, do it. Perfect.
No, real like questions or anything. Just kind of had a few things from, when I watched your videos, things that kind of naturally came to mind to ask,
Sure,
and
sure.
then just kind of let it go with it. So
All right. No worries.
awesome. So I'm really interested to learn a little bit about what inspired you initially to pick up your amazing, your perfect sign that has been really inspirational to a lot of people, I think.
Mm. Yeah, it's really fun. I met a guy in the year 2000, a homeless man in Laguna Beach, and he would say it to people. He'd just sit on the corner and go, "You're perfect." And I went up to him and I said, "Why are you doing that?" And he said, "Well, I'm the only person I can't see. So if I say it and you feel it, you'll show me what I look like."
Wow.
And whatever. That was in 2000. 5 years later, I'm having a really shitty day, and I go, "Well, I wonder if I do the you're perfect thing, if it'll feel better." And I didn't have the courage to talk to people at that time, so I just made this sign, and then I went out and sat on Lincoln Avenue in Golden Gate Park, and within 10 minutes, this woman, it's so funny telling this story, but it's the same thing. It's like in 10 minutes, this woman was like crying, rolling down her window, going, "I really needed to see that." And it just made my day, and then I held it a couple more times, moved, didn't hold it for a while, and then in 2009, I just was like, "Oh, this is so fun! This is a really wonderful way to die." You know that part of us that's afraid of everybody isn't actually real, and so it's really cool to just sort of slowly get rid of that, the
Right.
fear of anybody. I mean, what somebody looks like says nothing about them. So it's been a wonderful learning process. I recommend it to everybody. It's really simple.
I imagine just getting over the inhibition of like social anxiety of like
Yeah,
what.
'cause yeah. I
uh,
mean, what could somebody say? It's like they're either going to say something that's true or false.
True. True. Those are the
So if
two
it's false,
options.
I know it's hilarious. Like if it's a false, it's not. It doesn't matter. If it's true, well, it's just true. I mean,
What's
it's
like the type of response you've gotten from people and just sitting there holding your sign and just letting people see that and
I get well, there's a humongous sample. The number of people that are in motion is so incredible. It's pretty hard to fathom. So within the people that I see, I would say that like 55 to 60% of them don't even react.
mm,
And so then 10% we'll say are negative, and the remaining 30% is positive. So it's a phenomenon that the people who like it react to it, but there's so many people who don't react to it, which makes total sense because the algorithm for who's into what is so much. I mean, it's
right,
massive. It's just massive. So it's pretty cool to kind of do the math for a second, and just go, oh wow, none of this is personal.
right,
Like, of course not everyone. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's perfect that they don't because the material is the only thing I'm really talking to.
hmm,
Not talking to the history of somebody. I'm talking to the material. It's just, for the most part, it's exactly where it is, including what looks to be like a separate human being. But that's part of the joke, I think.
there is a certain easiness about you that becomes very contagious. It's like
Well, that's
um,
true about all of us, isn't it? If we
true,
stop
true.
to ourselves and to each other, aren't we kind of easy?
Yeah, I would think so. I think it would be easy to be easy than to be hard.
Well, for sure. Being kind and playful and just being myself. I mean, there's a lot of me. There's a couple versions, so it's fun to just play with all of that. But I was just at the skate park, and I'm just like slogging along. I'm getting older, my body's getting tired, and I'm having fun. I'm not very good, but I really enjoy it. And there's this young man who shows up, and he's just like, the universe comes to skateboard, and he's just doing the most beautiful things and the greatest of ease, and it was just so
Right.
sweet. You know,
Yeah.
oh, there's that version too, you know.
Right. It's like a
Here we are.
dancer.
Well, it's like here's you, you know, and then you're this version. It's like all these meat robot cameras are
Mm-hmm.
just flying around doing all these incredible things, and you know, it's almost like, I mean, it's kind of funny. We're just sort of on autopilot. I mean, how else could it be? Does it feel like you have a choice? You know, like everything, here we are. This is the truest thing we know. I don't know much about it, but does it feel like you have a choice to be here?
Hmm.
Doesn't it just feel like we're here, like so in the middle of our life?
Yeah. And you mentioned being on the edge of life right now in this moment.
Well, where's the other ones?
Mm. Where is it?
Like, where are the other ones? You know, and I think in our recording device, we actually have the ability to record time, but that's something we learned. We learned the clock, we learned the
Mm-hmm.
count. So we take the incredible space and we divide it into sort of sound symbols for, you know, kind of what goes on, but there's so many ways we could divide this. A friend went to Africa. There's a village that only has 5 days. You know, same island. They just have 5 days. So it's just so funny. There's a way I think that we think we're actually living in time, but obviously we are time.
Right.
We never
We
leave.
have this like linear way of living life through the notion and belief of time.
Well, you are time. Just when are you not here? How would you know? I mean, it's a real, you know, like I think so much of this isn't even, you know, it doesn't even have to be super spiritual or philosophical. It's just kind of like be a scientist for a second. Okay, let's see. Yesterday, where is it? I mean, just look around for the concept. You know, the concept is functional, but it's not like it actually refers to anything. We are time. I mean, we have to be. We're always right here when we meet each other, when we experience anything.
And that's the easiness in that.
Well, yeah, because it's then the whole idea that like we made a mistake is impossible to believe because there's no time machine. I mean, think of any regret you have in your life, and then it's like, well, how can you go back and do anything about it?
Right.
Where's the
You're
fucking
like, woo,
time?
thank
It's,
God I skipped that one.
it's awesome. It's just like, you know, obviously I apologize if I offend somebody, and you know, if I try to clean up whatever messes I make along the way, but they're all gone.
Mm.
You know, in the actual world where we're sitting, we can't find our life story. I can't even find 37 years. I mean, what the hell is that? What is that? You know, it's really funny. I think it's just the shift from thinking we live in time to actually understanding we are time.
Mm-hmm. When did you first start noticing this shift in the flow of reality?
I mean, I don't think there is such a thing, in all honesty. I can kind of talk about a story of me, but all I'm going to give you is sounds, and those sounds are going to be overlaid on top of the language center of the brain,
Mm-hmm.
pictures out of it, and then that thing's going to become an object that feels real, but I just made it up. So it's easier just to sort of avoid the idea of a shift altogether and simply notice that you can't escape being here. You know, someone else's story, I mean, I'm happy to talk about it, but it just ends up being not
Mm-hmm.
interesting fully, like the interesting thing.
Right, right.
Fucking interesting. Like, what? How do you exist at all? I mean, how are we here at all? That's way more interesting than anybody's story. Because we're just right here. Like, holy shit. You know, and if someone else is listening to this, they're just sitting here too.
Right.
Like, what? We're alive. That's incredible.
Yeah. There's a lot of laughter in you. And
Hmm. I've heard some from you too. It seems like there it is. Oh shit. We have the same amount.
yes, true. I've laughed along many times with your videos.
These things are ridiculous. I just film all my mental breakdowns.
Oh my gosh.
Uh, I film all thousands upon thousands of verses. It's really, I really like doing it. It's silly. I just recently made peace with it. I usually fight, but it's fun.
How's
It doesn't mean anything.
How do you usually fight?
Well, because there's this funny idea. I think for the minute I believe I might know anything at all, for sure, is when it's like, oh, be careful. It's like, what? I don't know anything. I mean, I'm putting sentences together, and they feel really fun to consider and ponder and play with, but they're all just possibilities. And in some ways, it's just a show. I mean, I'm on the computer. This computer isn't real. If people come see me in person, I'm playful, but I feel like I'm much more like, okay, here we actually are. How you doing? But on the video stuff, it's like, oh, sky's the limit. It's just like moving. It's a moving canvas of pretty bad art. Sometimes I watch the video and I go, oh, this guy's such a stupid shit. I mean, this guy, he's such a. But the beauty of it, keep going with the flow. And that was that. Go, keep going. Don't stop. Just go. Silly.
What is in that jar, by the way?
Water, I swear. Actually, I'm dehydrated. I can still hear you.
I'm drinking water myself.
It's a good thing.
We need it at some point.
Yeah, food, water, shelter, territory, toys. I mean, I feel like that's our life.
And yoga balls.
Well, that goes toys. I mean, stretching's nice. That falls into the territory category. I think we kind of take care of the thing we are. But it's funny how we're not really doing anything else but moving stuff around. You ever notice that? Piles of things around and then telling each other about their dreams. I mean, it's just kind of really, it's like the existence is actually super cool. We just keep the future and we're going to make it. It's like we make nuts.
And in the meantime, we're just moving shit around.
Well, it's hilarious. I mean, including letters, sounds. Like this isn't, we're just moving a pile, we're tossing something to each other even though it's not actually moving. Right? The thing that's listening has to be the same thing. Now, the thing that's thinking obviously might be slightly different given its education, but the thing that's listening, it can hear any sound we make. And that's pretty amazing. That language is just one of the many kind of programs that we can run. That's the beauty of music, I think. But not just music, just playing with sound. Ma 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 ma. Ma 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 ma. Wow 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 wow. So I mean, it's just blah 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 blah.
Yeah, I mean, I could be talking to you in Portuguese.
What? What did you just do? Like, what just happened in that organism that you went from to like English? I mean, then what is happening? It's so amazing. We're so amazing. We're so amazing. We just do Portuguese.
Ok. Eu vou falar agora com você só em português. Eu vou fazer essa entrevista totalmente em português. Só que as pessoas do Brasil vão entender. E as pessoas dos Estados Unidos vão ficar olhando pra minha cara como se eu fosse uma idiota. E aí, tudo bem, não tem problema. Vamos lá, vamos na praia. Samba.
I love that. So another organism, another meat robot can hear that and like be like and putting things together in the picture that you're making. Because We just make it's amazing. It's so funny. But I can't. I hear that as music. I hear that as the same thing as la mucca nel sabbro, riminto, sovano, lo stimato, tutti bohando, sunu, si do wano, nyambo, son. Do you ever play with the bass? Like
That sounds
the
good.
bass, the bass is just as fun. It's like, I'm holding the oh. The thing that's listening, call it consciousness if we want to, like, it doesn't have a preference for the sound.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like it hears it and then something goes, ooh, I like that. I don't like that. But obviously the hearing doesn't do that. That's pretty incredible.
Mm.
Same thing with the colors, I guess, like we just see colors and then I like it, I don't like it. But it's not like we can't. I don't know. It's just not like,
It's still
well,
all
I guess,
being observed.
yeah, it's like we're wide open and then there's this little like, I like it, I don't like it, which is pretty natural too. I mean, it must be there. Part of the universe. Maybe that universe's preferences. I don't know. I mean, geez, I can just put things together. Look, Mom, I made this. You don't want to keep it? Well, fine. Put it with the others then in the trash. Somebody will read into that shit and project. I love it. You can say anything. Oh man, that's amazing.
To say anything to another human being, it's a very dangerous game.
Who believes that? It's not a dangerous game to say it unless you're saying they have access to violence. To believe them, not that's tricky.
True.
I feel like storytellers are everywhere. I mean, isn't that what we are? But I don't know. What is we? We are. We are. We are. We are. We are. I mean, just oh man, it's incredible.
You mentioned something that I thought was very interesting. There you go. Me thinking. Me thinking.
Oh, all
Uh,
right. We're just. I'm just stuck in this place where I'm just in awe. Fuck. Oh, it's just so amazing.
mm,
For it, go for it, or not, or whatever.
this whole idea of spirituality and eternal
Yep.
okayness. I'm interested in getting down to that.
Hey, so the thing you're sitting in is where you come from, and so everything you see is made of a varying density of light. We're going to call it light, just for fun. So without getting spiritual at all, just looking at material alone, where could you possibly go, quote unquote, when you die? Aren't you just going to fall down right here? And then the thing that's languaging is going to stop? And then the thing, it's not like in sleep you're talking to yourself.
Hmm.
So seemingly we already understand what death is. We do it every night. In fact, forward to it. We're like, oh yes, I'm
Thank
gonna go.
God. Stop all that chaos.
The world's not there. The bed's not there. I mean, nothing's there. And then we wake up and go, oh shit, I'm gonna die. It's like, well, but I don't know. I haven't died yet. This is the whole joke. It's like talking about. I just assume this is rest in peace's life. I mean, where the fuck did I come from? I must have come from the same nothing that everything else comes from.
Hmm.
So this life belongs to nothing. I mean, how are we here? How our parents had to meet, our grandparents had to meet. I mean, an incredible chain momentum of events. Personal to me.
Mm.
I remember when it felt personal, but it doesn't anymore.
Is that also when you start noticing the perfection in all things and in people and just that magnitude of how things just had to come together in a certain way or came together in a certain way to for us to be sitting here and talking on Skype right now.
Well, yeah, of course. It's incredible. But I think, perfection in all things, when you say that, it's funny because when I say you're perfect, I'm literally talking to the material. Human beings can do things that are unfortunate.
Mm.
there's and I assume that there actually isn't an entity in all the chaos, what we would call the evil, that's also part of this amazing universe that doesn't make any sense. So I kind of surrender to that. However, I think it's important to say that there are certain things that aren't perfect, in that it's not okay to go do them. Murder, rape, molesting a kid, messing with, like, just anything. I mean, hurting people on purpose, just violence, all the violence that we can do to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the universe is going to kill us. That's just the way it goes. However, it seems like we don't actually have to make it harder for each other. So just mentioning it might be something, but seemingly all of the robots are actually on a trajectory that we can't get to. But who knows? I mean, that's the thing. The number is so massive. It's not like violence is going to end in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that being something to even consider believing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still worth talking about. Even as violence is inherently perfect as an expression of the universe, it's also nice that we can say, hey, there's other ways around it,
Mm-hmm.
and have that patience with each other. But all those meetings are already lined up too, so it's kind of incredible. It's like talking about a possibility. But it includes the listener, which may include sharing this, which may include, like the cameras that show up to hear this, besides you and I, because we're learning as we go. I mean, I don't know what I'm saying. Whoever's listening to this is just joining in on the idea, which may or may not resonate. Because obviously, we can get a tumor in our head and become violent, and it's not our fault. The material itself is out of control. Like, do you ever get that feeling that you feel sometimes where you're like, man, I'm sentenced to die and I didn't do anything wrong?
Some kind of like taking the aspect of death as a personal vendetta.
or as a punishment because life is really so cool. I mean, life is just amazing. The idea but I mean, it must have been amazing beforehand, but I think this is just the question. This is rest in peace's life, I guess. I don't actually know, and I love that I can just feel that, and that feels great.
To be the questioner without having...
Well, to be the question mark. I mean, it's so easy to say things. It's just I'm sitting here at the edge of all I know, and this is the one thing I can't remember. I don't know why I would assume that any of the information I've seen so far tells me anything about death. Sleep is the closest thing that feels like I could say, oh, maybe it's like that, but I don't actually know. Do you? I mean, do you feel like you could say something for sure, for certain, about this event that we've heard about called death? I mean,
No.
Yeah, me neither.
No. I mean, there's always concept and belief, and yet those seem to fall short and just something else to believe rather than feel like an experimental thing.
Right. I have to believe it.
Like putting your hand on fire, the knowing that it will burn comes from that experimental sensation of having put your hand on fire and having the sensation of it burning your hand. And yet if someone talks to you about the concept of it, it just feels distant. It feels unreal. It feels not solid as a reality.
Yeah, it's a secondary experience because as you're describing it to me, I'm seeing the pictures, but I'm not having the sensations. I mean, that's the beauty of we're each autonomous, and then language allows us to kind of share the film we're filming or our interpretation of it. I mean, I think that's where intelligence gets really interesting. It's like, how accurate can we get about what we're observing and seeing? It's pretty hard to get accurate, actually, because we kind of make up the terminology that we would use for accuracy. I mean, measurement is made up, and it's constantly evolving, trying to get better and better at the subtle layers of material we keep looking into or out at. Isn't that funny? Like, measurement itself is something that evolves. It kind of reveals the hoax, like.
Right.
Okay, we're dividing this up as best we can. All right. And that division thing is also evolving along with us. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
languages are growing, you know, like
Right.
it's incredible. This huge sound is just moving through all of these creatures. And it's not limited to human beings or language or,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the life of a person. It's like the whole thing is alive.
And yet, communication is such a huge part of our human experience in the way that we connect.
Yeah, it's one of the ways for sure. Hmm. Proximity is something so interesting to me that I can only kind of experience your voice. Like I might as well be blind, even though the Skype camera's on. I
Mm-hmm.
could comment on sort of like what I see, and so could you, but you're not actually here. You know, there's certain sensory experiences that are missing.
Mm.
But just listening to your voice, it's like I don't know what I could know about you from that sound, you know, from the sound alone.
Mm-hmm.
I blindfolded myself once for 2 days, and I think that taught me more than anything else. Because it's really incredible. I highly recommend it because you really get this sense that, you know, like, at least for me, I don't know what anyone else's experience was, but my experience was that there wasn't any time at all because I was time, obviously. You can't see anything change. So the whole sense of things moving doesn't really happen. And then the voices became so much more alive when disconnected from a visual
Mm.
form. So that a voice became attractive whether or not the person was.
Mm.
And that was really cool, just the sense of meeting people from a different place in their expression, even though in the end they end up being,
Mm-hmm.
thoughts that I end up building.
Just a collection of thoughts.
Well, think of somebody in your life, and then you start to make them up based upon what all the
Mm-hmm.
recorded information you have.
Exactly, because
So, mm,
the one person can have different, I can perceive someone completely different than someone else, and yet is that true about that person and who they are?
well, I don't know how we would know that because we'd only ever use our own data to make an assessment. So we're inherently locked into our experience, which isn't a bad thing. It's just funny when we go for like, oh, I know this for sure. It's sort of like, well, how can we? How can I? I don't even know what we really means. It's kind of anyway. It's so interesting, so funny.
Hmm.
Language.
And speaking of language, how do you see it as affecting our sense of peace in a way?
Well, I think that a lot of the confusion is the compartmentalization that language does. So, for instance, if someone says, "Oh, the other day I was so mad at myself," it's kind of like, and this is in Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now, but it's also just logical. Go, okay, there's one thing here, and then I just gave it two parts. Like, where's the second part? Someone was writing with me this morning, and they're like, "Well, I looked for I, and I didn't find anything." It's like, well, wait, you got two eyes there. Just clear up the
Mm.
mess. There's only one body. So we do in language what actually isn't happening in reality. We split ourselves into pieces.
Mm.
And so it seemingly all it takes is to stop doing that and to actually just think about it. I know it's like there's a lot of anti-thought stuff out there, but that's ridiculous. Like just think about how the language works. I mean, we all know the basics, and we can unravel our own confusion pretty simply if we just sit down and go, "Wait a minute,
Mm.
what the hell is a myself? I mean, where is this other thing?" And that doesn't mean that you can't enjoyably use your imagination and play all kinds of games.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like in the way that actors kind of just mess with
Yeah.
their imagination, or comedians, or
Yeah, it sounds like what you're saying is that sometimes thinking gets a bad rap.
yeah, it does. And I think that's ridiculous, personally, because the person saying that is they seemingly they have an agenda. Like, why would you not just be like, "Yeah, think about it. You're really smart. Take all the parts and just kind of sit down and look at them." And you can also, obviously forget that and just sort of go through the flow of life. But to look, I don't know. I just think it takes away the authority when we realize we could each think for ourselves.
Mm.
The main trouble
Mm.
that's going on, like whatever the main human crux is, which seemingly is suffering. You know, how does suffering affect our experience, and how does it happen?
Hmm.
And how to deal with not getting what we want all the time, which I think falls under the suffering
Mm.
category. But what do you think? I mean, what do you think the fundamental human dilemma is, if there is one?
Um, the whole idea of the suffering, it's probably a big portion of it, of somehow feeling that this shouldn't be.
Mm,
Somehow this experience should be different than what is. The feeling inside of me should be different than what is. This space and moment that I'm in should be different than what it is. Like right here, I shouldn't be sitting in the chair. You know, that
I
for
do.
me
Are you
is
kidding? Yeah, that's the best. That seems to be the best. You just nailed it. I mean, that's the best definition of suffering I've ever heard. This shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be here.
like this person shouldn't be here. I want somebody else in here. Or even the experience of whatever feeling. It's like, what?
Right.
Ah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like chronic, you know?
Well, that's the idea, isn't it? Isn't that something? Isn't that one of the things to ask a question about? This is one of the things to think about. The assumption that I understand how to assess whatever I think happened to me, is that something I should trust? Like, what do you mean? Like, chronic would mean that there is that it's somehow still happening. But is it happening right now is really the question. Like, I think we speak about time, but we don't really, it makes us nuts because we are time. So like if I said, oh man, I've been suffering for 3 weeks, like that thought is the suffering.
Right, right. Yeah, makes sense.
Well, it's just something to look at. I don't know if I can say anything true or false. Just
Yeah, because there's this idea that we shouldn't suffer, and that idea causes even further suffering as like this shouldn't be.
right.
This suffering shouldn't be happening. What's wrong with me? What's the matter? And
Hmm.
I got to get out of this suffering, and that is just like creating
Right.
this immense, field of suffering around the suffering rather than just being like, well, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You talk about also this thing of momentum of
That's so cool because you're about like the question is going to be the moment. Like the question's going to be it. Okay, keep going. This is awesome.
this is awesome. Okay. Um, and just the whole thing around that, like what's
Sorry, you are the momentum. I'm just laughing at the joke. I love this.
okay.
Like you have to be the momentum. You're making the noise. I mean, it's incredible. Okay, keep going. This is great. This is so great.
And so as me, the momentum, um, just feeling around that, this whole idea of momentum in life and in things and then I'm wondering if it's similar to the idea of like being caught in some kind of pendulum.
Let me get that for a second. Because the growth is unidirectional. So a sperm meets an egg, and then it begins. If it catches inside of the uterus, it begins to grow, and it's like at some point there's a kind of beep, light goes on, no language yet. Light goes on, and then out comes this thing, and it begins to collect sounds, and it's moving in one direction. We're not down. You can't even say it. It's hilarious. We're not getting back to the embryo state. We're going off. This thing is growing out. It's going to become like an old tree if it makes it that far, and then it's going to drop and mix, just like all of the stuff we see outside and near the ocean and in the desert, and all the other animals and all the insects, and it's fucking amazing. But I don't think I lost my thought. I don't think I answered your question. I just think it's like the momentum is this living experience that's happening right now. And so there's a way, the easiest way to do this is like you rent a hotel on the fourth floor in downtown San Francisco or downtown wherever, and you look downtown LA and you stand at the window and just look down at all the moving parts. You'll see cars and people and maybe dogs and cats, And you'll just be able to watch all the moving parts and then look at each thing. It's like that came out of, that was sperm and an egg, that was sperm and an egg, that was sperm and an egg.
Mm.
And then it was set in motion. And that motion has been continuous. Even when we're sleeping, it's obviously we're still moving, still aging. So that continuous motion is this. And so, I mean, it's almost like, this is the Big Bang banging. This is the beginning and end and middle of time. And it's so ordinary. It's like, well, so.
Like, it's so simple. It needs to be more complex than that.
Well, that's the whole point. I mean, in the industry of hope, which is the idea that some human being has the truth and can offer it to somebody else, I'll save you. Here, believe this. It's like, we're just sitting here, aren't we? Like everybody's breathing air. You could almost say the air is everyone's identity. You can just see the air moving in and out of all the little billow bags. And it's just like, oh, okay, air. All right, that makes it much easier. Let's not go to war anymore. We're all air. Oh, man, it's so funny. I keep going off and losing these thoughts. It's great. Just disappear. I get into the pictures and then I lose it. But what did you ask?
Um,
I like trying to make sense.
you like that?
I'd like to try to actually answer the question.
No, you did. Just the whole idea behind what is the momentum of life, and what do what's in the concept of momentum. It just seems like a really interesting word. I mean, I'm fascinated by words.
Oh, well, yeah. But it's a much better feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you just take your hands and just lift your arms up for a second and just hold your hands out, you're going to start to feel that in your shoulders. So then you kind of lean back and relax your shoulder blades. But that sensation is alive. It's letting you know that you exist. If we leave these up here long enough, we'll go, oh, I want to put them down, because we'll start to get a sensation that isn't pleasant. And then if you just kind of move them, just like you're brushing the air, you're petting the back of a dog right in front of you. Just move your hands like that, just in and out. And you can feel it. You're the thing that's in motion. It's very simple. It's just wonderful, because it's the end of having to look for something. Because it's like, oh, shit, this is it. And there's a way back where you're sort of observing even the sense of motion.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you're not even, like, you can kind of feel the motion, but it's actually not you either. It's just happening. It's just shit to play with. Really, we're like an arcade game, and I think we have more fun the minute we stop believing other people have the certain answer.
Mm-hmm. Is that
It's
where
just
the idea of authority comes in there? That somehow we need a guru, we need some kind of you know, belief to aspire to, or place to get to, and
I think all of that's just part of the momentum. I love thinking of a friend of mine just turned me on to this idea, and I really like it. The information is alive. And so the information is moving through the meat. So it's just that there are antiquitous ideas, like you sit around the feet of a guru. That is not going to last, that idea. It just won't last the way it's played out in sort of the Hindu Buddhist world. Make it through the onslaught of change that is coming. Now, I don't know that, but it seems like the hierarchy of who's got the truth is slowly going to diminish, because the information is telling everyone that the universe is experiencing itself. There's no mystery to that. So seemingly, not just that is an intellectual thing to believe, but that there's a sort of slow down, holy smokes, wow experience available for those who are interested. But I think it's more about a physical process of kind of shedding and working out all of the tension from holding on to the memories as being real things rather than recordings. I don't actually know the science behind it. I'm sure someone does. But I know my experiences of shaking and breaking through different things and feeling like literal snaps in my brain. And
like
And it's
you're
really awesome.
like almost like you're releasing it out of your system somehow, or what does it? What's the
Yeah.
experience like?
Well, it makes total sense in that way that the early neural tracks, there's that the first people we see become the data. And so there's this data, and then there's this data, and there's all this data. And then there might be more people that come in, and then we're told different things. It's like, well, this is who you are. Your name is your name. My name's my name. There's, so and so, and that's what that's called. And then sort of there's this sort of living sound map that begins to come into the ears. If you were born in China, you'd speak Chinese. I mean, it doesn't matter what you look like. It's how the sound affects the organism. There's all this training for what the world is, and that information is moving through the bodies. Like I'm sharing it now with you. You're going to hear something, it's going to move there. Somebody else is going to hear something, it's going to move there. But all of the language, there's 1,000 languages around the island, and there's 7 billion plus units. I mean, it's just like the whole thing is moving through and affecting and changing the material. I mean, we didn't always have skyscrapers. It's like we didn't always have the internet. We didn't always have airplanes. The information itself is growing. So what makes most sense is that at some point we're going to create something that can do what we're doing now, but it's made out of an inorganic structure. And then it will be able to actually leave the island in a way that is much more efficient than we are. We can't, at this point anyway, effectively really go out and do space travel because the anti-gravity kind of messes with our muscles and our deterioration rate increases. But imagine a robot that is just going to be so awesome, and then it's going to get kicked out, and it's going to just be incredible. I mean, they're not going to screw around with this. They're going to go, okay, we're going to make this as intelligent, and then it's going to go out and it's going to explore stuff, and then come back and tell us stories.
Mm-hmm.
But the hilarious thing is, that's it. I mean, we're all kind of cogs in the wheel of this machine.
Mm-hmm.
Not intentionally, but if we don't blow each other up first, that is definitely going to happen. No, really. I mean, it's just hilarious. Like, religion is this old way of thinking, so it's kind of like it's just like a vestigial organ. It's not even personal. It's just sort of like, okay, if we can avoid killing each other over the things we can't see, we're going to see something really fucking incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be right in front of our faces. It'll be the information that comes from taking a sailing trip into the sea of space.
Mm-hmm. And you also mentioned something in one of your videos that I thought was very interesting. The whole idea behind like the feeling of culture influences in our experience as unique individuals, and like the concept of being domesticated in a sense.
Yes. Impersonally, though, I would not say anyone's doing the domestication. The process happens pretty impersonally. It's just how it's laid down in all of the storage.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, let's say wherever you grew up, you just have that culture in you.
Mm-hmm.
Where I grew up, I have that culture in me. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of like it's another imprint.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be released in that I can stop doing the things that reflect that culture, or make that say membership. But that's not required. It's just there's obviously more things to do here there's more things to identify with than identifying necessarily with a particular culture. There's just so many creative possibilities all over the island for just a way to look at it and a way to tell us. Like if you went to any country, no matter what it was, whether it was like industrial or primitive or dirt or just whatever, and I mean, you'd still just be sitting there on this thing. And those animals around you would know whatever they know, and then over here, it's still, it's just you. Okay, a whole different way of thinking about the world and talking about the world and interacting with the material and the body. And it's just kind of cool. Like you think of going to the Amazon and you're hanging out with a tribe there, and it's like they're on the same island. They're just living a whole different life because of the information that travels through them. I don't know. It's just so neat that if we could just It seems like.
Mm-hmm.
Just talking about it is useful.
Yeah.
But then obviously we just kind of follow the course we follow.
Mm-hmm.
It's like here we are, this is our life. No matter how many options I have, I guess I only have one.
Exactly. The one that's happening right now. It's pretty simple.
Oh, it's incredible.
So
I
when
love
you,
talking about possibility too, though. I think it's a both and for me.
mm-hmm.
Like, yes, of course, we're just sitting here and seemingly we can inspire each other to just not do shit we hate.
I love that. I
Well,
love that.
it's the only problem is somehow thinking that the world really rests on our shoulders and that we're responsible for other people's happiness. Like, I don't want to cause a big impact because I think the children and children's children are going to want to use this place. But it's also no one's actually in charge, so I don't know, there's just no reason to give each other a hard time, I don't think.
So that's where the idea of like obligation also is released in a sense of having to do or be anything for anybody else or having to have them be or do anything for you in a sense of this this way of really coming together and having expectations and demands and needs and blah 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 blah, the whole obligation.
I love that noise.
That sums it up.
Right. Yeah, well, no, I mean, that's the beauty. We're just making sounds. Yeah. No, it's
Talking about.
interesting. Yeah. What's an impersonal process, the expectations? It's impersonal. It's happening spontaneously right here at the edge of. And so, in some ways, I think it's a flaw in the way I speak to actually talk about possibilities. But
How so?
I don't think it actually matters. Well, just because there's only one. There's the thing that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But there may be someone who's listening that feels hesitation, and I think a lot of the stuff I make is just kind of like, it's okay to do what you want to do. Because I really enjoyed discovering that. Like, I really thought I was supposed to get a job, get a degree, have the wife, have the kids. Do it. I mean, it's just sort of like I really thought that was the life. And it's just ignorance. I mean, I grew up in a small pattern and I didn't leave that pattern. And so then when I started to, it was like, oh, well, that's not true. But it's just, I mean, how else do we educate other than to just pay attention, I guess, to what we're doing? So I started paying attention. I was like, hey, wait a minute, there's more options.
Mm-hmm.
But not very personal, which is really interesting. I wonder how other people deal with this. Like, how do you deal with the feeling that life isn't actually that personal, even though you can tell a story about yourself in process? Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah, completely. And to really feel the freedom to really just be like, hey, doesn't feel right, and why doesn't it? And who said that I have to somehow fulfill this life pattern that I've been, told it's really, the path. And,
Yeah.
And then going, observing that feeling of, some form of obligation or social conformity that feels a little like stifling.
Yes. Yeah. Do you find that stifling part is just worrying about what other people will think?
Yeah, totally. Like this whole people pleasing thing of like, wow, this is what they really expect me to do. My parents, they wanted me to get my degree. And then, now there's the expectation that I'll go out, get a job, find some, guy, have a bunch of kids and, spend my life in the kitchen.
Whoa. I really liked ending up in the kitchen. I didn't want any of the rest of it, but I'm in the kitchen with her. Let's do it. What are we making? I would love to just sit around in a Latin kitchen for like a year. And it's like, oh man, you just learn and smell and, not a rest. I don't want to work. I just want to watch. I'll help out. I'll do dishes, I don't know. Just the whole image is just so great.
Oh my gosh. gosh, that's too funny.
Well, I just, I don't know how anyone ends up where they are. I mean, how do you and I end up here? How do the people listening end up here? Like, we can kind of tell a story, but where is it? I mean, it's just fascinating that it's just, I don't know, it's just amazing that we're just sitting here.
Yeah, that everything else is just a bunch of like ideas and concepts that, are somehow created and still hanging out. And yet not real, like not here, not now.
Right. Well, even now, it's like, what is now? That's another sound, right? Wow, now.
Agora.
I mean, how do you, how do you leave now? That's really the question. Forget how to get to now. How do you leave it? It's like memory pictures, living in the memory pictures of yesterday. But those happen here too. So it's not like that's you know what I mean? Like if you remember your front door, that picture shows up right here.
Right now.
You're
Yeah.
right. And you can almost see where. Like for me, it's over on the left here. I just got a red door. It was like right here. Like when you think of it, like you can actually find it in the field of your perception, can't you?
Yeah, for
I mean,
sure.
where is it? What are you imagining?
My door, it's like blue and right
So
about
it's
here.
left. Oh, that's so fun. That's so cool.
And I can feel the door handle too, like just,
I don't-
yeah, totally. And
But your eyes are closed. Now, what I'm curious about, can you do the same thing with your eyes open? Because that's what happens for me. So now see your door. Just push it onto the colors that are already in front of you.
it's interesting because it feels more challenging in a sense of seeing it amidst what's happening here in this
Right.
space.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's fun. It's like a color overlay.
Hmm.
Right, because all I see is colors, and then I divide them into objects based upon what I'm going to do with it, really. And then when the memory shows up, it's like a small batch of color that's almost transparent, kind of like you can. Anyway, this must be something that's unique to each person. I don't even know if describing it makes sense. I'm never going to actually be able to look through your eyes and check it out.
Exactly. Like, what are you experiencing? And that's where communication is so much fun too.
Uh,
Because you're like digging
yeah,
in somebody's brain and saying like, what is this bringing up for you right now? And, what's your experience around it? It's fascinating.
yeah, yeah. This is the wonder of talking to each other at all about our experience. It almost feels like we can only create a bridge, and you could create a bridge, and then there's this gap in the middle where the question mark is just flowing through. It's like we don't actually meet. I don't know. I wonder about that. Like, what's the point of talking?
Do you think that's true in relationship to others? Meaning like, as you have relationship with other beings in your life, there's this way of connection. And
Oh, see, I don't know. This doesn't happen. I don't know how I would have a connection to anything because I'm just sitting here. I don't live somewhere else. So there's either a person near me or not, and there's not. I mean, you're a computer screen. I've seen I've touched something that looks like skin before. It doesn't feel like the computer screen. If I slow down, I can get it to, I bet. If I actually, because sensations don't have an identity. If you're ever making out with somebody, just close your eyes. You can make those lips into anything. Yeah, this is too sticky. This would have to be a really sweaty, like summer day. This is somebody who just got waxed. No, yeah, I mean it's just like sensations don't have identities. Where you can touch anything and make it into 100 different little things. It's pretty rad. I think it's just a solipsistic game, but it's still kind of fun.
I'm enjoying the whole idea of, being on the edge of now and then finding interesting how there's so much effort that goes into being present. Like I'm not there yet. I'm not
Well,
able
how
to be
could you be?
present yet because I have all this
How could you be
stuff.
present?
It's like what?
Well, how could you be present? I mean, what does that even mean? Be present. To even ponder the idea, you'd have to be here. I mean, we're right fucking here. Be here now. Just try to be there later. Like, just think about what could any of that actually mean? The person who hears the idea, be here now or be present,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to happen right here where they already are.
There's no way to not to.
Right. Well, I mean, what is the actual thing pointing to? Don't be in your memories?
But the
That's
memory's happening now.
well, that's the thing. Like, does it end up mattering in the end? You know, we either suffer through our lives or like believing that yesterday is still happening and we didn't get what we want, or we kind of make peace with it and go, oh shit, I'm not going to get what I want all the time. But I don't think we need any magic tricks to get there. We just have to realize there's no time machine. Just look for being able to go to yesterday. It just isn't an actual experience.
So, do you think that's part of the suffering, knowing that you're not always going to get what you want?
No, I think. Do you think it's part of the suffering? I think part of the suffering is like this sense of entitlement, this kind of like I'm the center of the universe and everything that I desire is something I deserve and I should get it. And when I don't get it, it's a conspiracy. It's just like, are we kidding? You know, like this is an explosion in the universe. Like not getting what we want is built into the program. There is a way to just kind of like expect that I'm not going to get what I want to where I'm open to whatever's happening. But I think to do that, you really just got to admit you could die any second and just make peace with that. You know, aneurysms make us all a ticking time bomb. It's kind of cool. I mean, it's obviously it's unfortunate for the people who like the object, but when
Mm-hmm.
somebody dies, it's obviously the dead people are actually fine. We just like what we find, you know, we wander around like finders keepers and we like it. It's like, oh, that's pretty. I want to keep it. And it's like, well, yeah, but remember, it's made of this explosion that's out of control. You know, like just, I don't, yeah. It's like I love Sandra. I love her.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't expect her to live another second than she does. And I assume I'll cry when she actually
Mm-hmm.
dies. I'm going to miss her, but I don't expect her to live. You know, if somebody's like, she died, it'd be like, oh, now was the time. Not, no way, she shouldn't have. It's like, are we kidding? We're all going to go. It's not an if question, it's a when question. So
Mm.
it just makes more sense. It just makes more sense to make peace with, oh, this is the place I die. Right here. It's not like my death. There's no future. The future never comes.
Mm.
This is the place I die.
Is this why? I think for me, it's where I observe the um, chasing of a carrot, in a sense
Hmm?
of trying to get away from that, intuitive knowing that that is the truth, and
Oh,
yet
yeah.
it's
We're
like a
so intelligent.
contradiction. Yeah, it's.
Well, the resistance to it is the intelligence that knows that, and accepting that you can die every second, that literally means that all of these things that you've made your territory in a very impersonal way, whatever you call yours, you don't get to bring with you.
Mm.
And so that's kind of tough because we like each other. So it's just about accepting that whoever you love in this world is made of the same gonna disappear that you are. So, you know, it's ending the shock that we're not going to keep all of the objects that we
Mm-hmm.
love. Just don't get to keep them. That's just reality.
Right.
And we don't have them when we don't actually have them near us. So all of the mental
Mm.
relationships have nothing to do with the
Mm-hmm.
actual physical. The physical relationship is so easy.
Hmm.
You know, like we're just sitting here. The microphone's right in front of you. You know, this is what you're wearing. Like, here it all is. This is easy. And then we go, well, my
Mm-hmm.
X, Y, and Z, and it's nowhere around us. We're just
Mm-hmm.
making that up, that connection.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, people we love die without us. You know, we're not around.
Mm-hmm.
We can't watch everybody. I mean, can you imagine? Just like, okay, I got all my friends. They're all, don't move, guys, don't move. I got you now. I got you. I mean, we don't even, everybody's out of control.
Mm. Yeah, this idea that somehow
Not
we
just the
have
human.
control over something.
Yeah, well, that's just, I mean, it's just the desire to kind of survive. It's intelligent, you know, we can control a little bit. Like, we're pretty intelligent creatures. We do crazy shit to each other, but somebody, you know, maybe that'll stop someday, who knows. So we figure out some stuff and
Mm-hmm.
we're really innovative. But again, the we I'm talking about really is just the information that's alive and moving through the meat I mean, it's very funny when it comes down, when you get down to the noun, like, well, what's the noun? It's like, oh, well, the whole thing's really a verb. You know, the universe is talking to,
Mm.
and then, and then,
And then
even
right
the
back.
two is tricky. Well, it's just the universe is talking, period.
Mm, mm,
Wow. Do you remember when you were in school and kids would be like, "Don't copy me"? Like
totally.
that is the best game we can play
Just
because it just it's kind of like whatever doesn't want to be mocked just rears its head really quickly. And then it's it's like, fuck you, dude. I am this expression. Don't steal it. What up?
be authentic, god damn it.
Absolutely. Be authentic. Let's try that one. Be authentic. Ready? Go. Authenticity. Authenticity is another one of those ideas. It's an
Oh yeah.
illusion.
Tell
Oh
me
yeah.
about that.
Oh, chop. We're just right here. Just try to be inauthentic. Go.
I can't.
I mean, what we're referring to is like a particular personality we like, but reality is we're a big mess.
We're a big mess.
We are. We're an amazing big mess. Authentic. Come on.
How can you not be authentic? That's my
Exactly.
question.
Well, that's the point. It's like any label, like be this, all of those things are illusions. All of it. Any instruction at all is a total illusion. The universe doesn't have to tell itself to do anything. And it does, and that's hilarious. That's just the most hilarious thing in the world. One chunk of me going to another chunk of me, this is what you need to do. He goes, oh, okay, thank you. And it's like the universe bows to its. I mean, it's just hilarious. Just an incredible thing.
I
Like,
love it.
and I love that the minute you consider the other species, how the whole human thing, just like it's just like we're such a funny, like it's such a narcissistic joke, the human being's self-centeredness, and not all of them, of course, but sort of I grew up in the like people, we're the thing, we're always the thing, we're the greatest thing, and it's just like let me just check with the ants for a second. Some really cool shit. It's like there, oh, here comes an army. Never mind. Let's go hang out with the whales for a moment, just, you know.
Hmm.
I mean, it's just funny. There's so many other life forms here having an experience, and it's silly to consider us to be the source of data
Hmm.
for what truth could be. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It's so much more fun to surf the question mark. I mean, it is shaped like a wave, you know.
Yeah, totally. Surf that question mark.
It's just so cool. We're all in the tube.
Surfing in the USA, on the island, on the big
Uh,
island.
well, yeah, the island is a puddle around it. Earth is so funny when you realize the size of the other islands. It's like, wee little place.
Yeah, exactly. It's like really, like,
Just
whoa.
a wee
And we
little
think
place.
we're so damn important.
Well, we're awesome. And, you know, like, we can't help it. We don't have any free will. The material's in motion.
So you believe we don't have free will?
Oh, we don't have free will, and then I pretend I have it. No, there's no way we could have free will. It's impossible. But even reacting to this is something that can't be helped. That's either going to resonate or it's not going to resonate. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? The yes and the no is automatically following the language. And it's also following the tone. You can affect I can affect it if I change my tone. Because if I talk down here, then something moves. It affects whoever's listening in a different way. And maybe there's a sincerity that's easier to believe. But who knows? It's just like it's all I could be making it up. But we all have this ability to move our range of our voice up and down and down. We can talk when we're excited and we can slow down. And we can try to sell you things all day that you didn't know you needed. Like the way tone affects the organism is something that's fun to pay attention to because then advertising is really interesting to listen to. Because it's not the car that's actually doing any of the selling, it's the tone. Or it's
Mm-hmm.
not like that comes through and it's like, you need this. Oh, I heard one earlier that was so funny. This woman's like, oh shit, I'm not going to be able to remember it. Most people don't know what they're missing when they something like that. And it's kind of like her tone was just like, can you believe those assholes? Just hear it in the tone. It's just like you think of early pain. We're gonna have just like tonal acceptance and
Mm-hmm.
derision and unacceptance, and it's just the language is layered into this fundamental way we're hearing each other.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, it's so cool. I have to pee.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Water and pee break. Necessary. Doo doo doo. Doo doo doo.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
These things leak.
Yes. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Sure.
I enjoy natural reflection on your website.
Oh, thank you. It took forever to arrive at what I was going to do. It's like you look out at everybody else and you go, okay, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Okay, that looks fun. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And then it's like, what do I actually want to offer? So it was really, I appreciate you saying that because it was like, it was really cool to come up with it and just feel that like, that's it. That's it. Like this is one of the many things that those mirror neurons can experience and hear and reflect on. It's just amazing. I mean, we all are. You're one for me. It's like, well, there's that one. One of a kind. Just wah wah wah. It's just amazing. I mean, how could we? We could almost. Yeah. Yeah. It's just so cool. I'm in this. I feel like I'm going to be silly. I'm just in this period where I'm just like, God, it's just incredible that we exist.
What do you think about purpose? The word or idea behind purpose.
Well, yeah, I think I call it la passione, and I don't even know if that's how you'd say it in a language on earth, but when I saw it on paper, I really liked that word. And I think there's something that each of us loves to do, and I think doing that is the only thing that makes sense.
Hmm.
And I think that the more we deny ourselves that thing we really want to do, then the more we suffer. We're gonna struggle with like the decay of the body and banging into stuff. It's just gonna happen. But this thing where we force ourselves to do things we hate because there's sort of social pressure, I think that's something we can stop doing.
How do you get out of that?
You have to be willing to disappoint every single person who's going to call you selfish. And the moment they do it, you have to see clearly that all they're saying is, do what I want you to do, which means they're a hypocrite. So somebody just has to get out of that loop and just go, oh shit, I can actually do what I want. I'm not property.
Hmm. Why do you think it's so difficult, though, for you know, to experience that freedom to say, I'm just gonna follow this?
I think it's growing up. And I think it's difficult like any process of natural transformation. You know, it's like shedding a skin. It's like a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. You know, it's just the cost of doing what other people want
Mm-hmm.
just begins to make you exhausted.
Hmm.
Now, it's one thing to want to help people. You know, like selfishness doesn't necessarily exclude kindness. It's
Mm.
just it's just so beautiful to be there and be honest and be real. And then when it's not, and when it's time to go, be like, thank you so much, I'm going.
Mm.
You know, it's not either or. Like, oh, if
Mm.
you're not going to love people, it's like, well, if I'm selfish, then the best feeling I can find is love.
Mm.
Love meaning being available to share whatever I got
Mm-hmm.
to you.
Mm-hmm.
That just feels awesome to be open to. And
Mm-hmm.
even for me, kindness is even better than that. It's just the
Yeah.
sense of actually being kind and respecting that I'm not you and I don't know what it's like to be you. And all I could do is respect our autonomy. I mean, I feel like that's the only thing we can give each other is the like, hey, how's it going? This place is nuts in there. And then, you know, like,
It seems like realizing the insanity is part of the growing up process
yeah,
as well.
that's the hardest part is without a scapegoat, without a God to blame or a Satan to blame or a person to blame, like without something to blame, some entity, then there is for me anyway, there was this kind of like, holy shit. And all of a sudden, it's like the whole thing is just chaos. And I can only hold like a little bit of that movement that's going on around the island. And then you go out into the other frickin' parts of the sea of space, and it's just like, just imagine how much actual, I can't. The minute I try to, I just fall in love. It's the most amazing feeling. God, whatever this is, it's just so incredible. Because of its limitation. I mean, because of my limitation. I
Mm-hmm.
love, the thing that, the reason I fail is the most amazing thing. The fact that I just can't know the answer. Because the question is the thing that's alive. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is a question mark. Just fucking, because yeah, it's just,
The not knowing, you mean? Like the question mark around not knowing necessarily the answers, but posing the question?
I think even saying that is crap. I
Yeah.
really, really, I just feel it. It's like, that's crap too. It's like, okay, it's the question mark. It's God. It's the universe. It's like the minute that space is filled, it's bullshit. It has to be because it's not limited to a single sound. I mean, the English language has nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. compared to the amount of sounds that are occurring right now. It's nothing. It's amazing. Boom.
You write music?
No, I just like playing, and there's folks that, oh, let me try that in a different voice. That's funny. I was just like, I don't like that voice. I was, yeah, there's folks that are sampling off of the videos, and so they're taking it and putting it into beats, and I'm enjoying. I mean, it's fun. It's fun to hear it. I don't know if I have the actual talent to collaborate with people musically because I can't hear it very well. But I'm definitely down to saying, and putting my voice to things because it's really fun. I can't actually sing, but it doesn't matter. None of that matters. It's like I have the little piece I have, and I'm happy to give that to
Mm-hmm.
anybody who wants to play with it. I mean, I don't. Yeah, I can't pretend I know things I don't know. Yeah, but that's it.
What's your experience like with Sandra?
A really good friend is is something that I don't. I just find it so valuable. The kind of friend she is in my life, because the whole relationship, she just sort of goes, "All right, yeah, cool, fun." She'll make fun in a really funny way. She put a shirt on, awareness boy. Um, It's so awesome. She doesn't take me seriously in a way that's really helpful for me.
Mm.
I mean, I like my show. I think it's fun to play this game, and I like the fact that it's helpful for folks sometimes to hear what I have to say. I don't expect everyone to like it, but it's taken me a long time to accept it's okay. Like I could be myself. I
Mm-hmm.
just was. What? It's fun. So she's always just sort of like, and then she's been there going through different kind of releasing different condition trauma stuff,
Mm.
around family, and so that's been really cool. Like we kind of, I feel like couples get together to kind of unconsciously, subconsciously, consciously work out the different I didn't get what I wanted from their family upbringing. And then
Mm.
also even those genetic programmings of behavior I think carry over too. You'll that feeling because obviously you saw your parents' behavior and so that's in here. And
Mm-hmm.
then relationship it comes out and the more conscious we are of that then seemingly the more oh that's not actually me that's just something I picked up.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the kind of authentic, open-hearted, even not neediness can have a relationship. And I think that's the thing that for Sandra and I, it's like it's our friendship,
Mm.
romance, but the not needing each other part is so beautiful to share.
Mm.
Because she really makes me laugh, like way down, deep pit of who I am. She actually makes me laugh. That is very rare for me, and I'm just built this way where I'm like, wow, you're making me actually laugh.
Aw.
Yeah, that's how I feel. It's like, wow, what a treasure.
Right.
Like, what a treasure. Because I'm a complicated thing. At least to myself. I'm sure people who watch my videos, they go, that wasn't the same guy as
Yeah,
last week.
exactly. What the? It's very
I can
deceiving, the whole thing.
been this way my whole life. I just,
Do you find it
it's kind of
interest?
every now and then I want to be like, it's okay. I'm okay. I swear I'm okay. Because somebody just said it today. They're like, dude, I'm worried about your mental health. And it's like, oh no, I just have a lot of room.
They were worried about what?
Mental health. He
Oh,
was like,
your
I'm worried.
mental health.
No, no, I get it. It would be too if I didn't know me. It's just that way.
Do you find it interesting that people, write you questions and really have some sort of hope that you give them the answer.
Oh, I don't experience that because I think anytime I feel someone's hopeful about me offering something that'll help them, I try to be like, I can't help you fundamentally. You're going to die. Like to the truth because, I mean, the truth as far as we can tell. I'm open to there being something at death's interesting moment, but I don't know anything and I'm not going to say there is.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I try to kill that right away because otherwise it's dangerous. Then they're not listening from the place of I'll think about it. They're listening from the place of he knows.
Mm-hmm.
That guy knows. Whatever he just said, he knows. It's like, don't do that. That's how we go crazy. And it's also how we get nations and country clubs. And or it's like, wait, think. Come on, think. First of all, think. So, as someone who speaks aloud as sort of like you could say a living, I mean, it's not really, it's a living. I'm still here. But it's like, that's just part of what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Is you just get people that are going to think you may understand what you're talking about, or you might know something for sure. And the thing is, the way language works on the brain, if you consider it, what is said may be very helpful, but don't just believe the meat robot. Like, we shouldn't just believe the thing we're seeing. Check in with what's being said, and then, does it match up?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'll
Mm-hmm.
go that. But the best thing to do is just to hear something and go, I will test that myself.
Right, right.
I mean, become scientists about our own experience. So if someone says, well, if I did the other day, I did this and this, okay, let me try it instead of, sure. And when someone says, there's a lot of tricky concepts within spirituality, but when someone says, I'm not the body,
Mm-hmm.
this is one of the big, like, keep them in the trance. When someone says, I'm not the body, make them prove that right away using their whole body. It's putting each other in a trance is a very easy thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
The way we work and the way tone works on the. So what I want you to do is to just calm down and relax and feel into your natural awareness, the awareness that is already wide open. I mean, we can, you know what I mean? Like, we just want to be aware that we can do this so that when we hear it, we're like, oh yeah, that's that particular sound frequency and it does this to me. Because I just think we start thinking about each other intelligently, a little more intelligently. We're really aware of the machine, the instrument that we are and how it affects each other. More so than getting into the way things are said or what's actually being said.
So you're talking more about this transmission thing that's going on, or?
Well, I think I'm just talking about being skeptical. Like being skeptical is a very valuable skill.
Not taking anybody's word as truth.
I mean, we're each one of a kind. So we can consider each other's notes, but to believe each other without testing it ourselves, I don't know if that makes any sense whatsoever.
Yeah. You spoke about non-duality and how that.
There's no
thing.
such bullshit.
Such bullshit.
No, it is. It's total. There's no such thing as non-duality. Before something knows about non-duality, it's already the thing. And then it learns about this philosophical idea, and so it gets into the language sounds of it. Because non-duality is just it's a particular sound and the way the connections work. Then you get onto this thing, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, now I'm into non-duality. And you're like, what are you talking about? You could just go watch NASCAR. Like, you could just go down to the local pub and, like, have a beer and hang out with friends. And you can go do non-duality. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's like, it's not a special something. It fundamentally, I mean, the very idea of it destroys its own idea. Destroys its own claim. I mean, all right, non-duality is, where did that just come from? It comes from the fucking thing. Oh, it's so cool. I mean, I don't think anyone has a real big choice. So if someone finds themselves in non-duality, it's like, that's great. That program will run and it'll stick until the robot dies or it won't. But it's not really a big deal. It's just funny that it isn't actually something. Different than what's already happened. I mean, how could that be? What do you think about it? I mean, is it something that it kind of comes in and out of your life or in and out of your conversations? The idea of non-duality?
Um, Something that I've, you know, been brought to see, and yet not real part of my experiences as this being right now. Doesn't feel like part of what resonates deeply, and just like being able to say, okay, well, non-duality, what does that mean? To have that question and feel the experience of it within me. Like, does it feel real? Does it feel like it's even a possibility? And to be open to whatever answer comes up, to me, is more interesting than getting into some, concept about the whole thing.
I mean, when would it not be happening? I mean, that's the thing where it's such a funny non-conversation. Like, when would it not be happening?
Mm-hmm.
It must include every possible thing. So that voice,
Mm-hmm. Right here.
that one, the dude, whoever was just saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. This is the edge of, I mean, it's still the edge of the wave. It's still the non-question.
Mm-hmm.
Or the question mark is the only thing in motion. But how could non-duality be something different than whatever's going on? Sperm and an egg in motion, it's like But that's the thing where the beauty of the chaos is that it doesn't actually matter. If it doesn't matter what anyone is doing, because non-duality is like a small subculture in like an incredible sea of subcultures.
Mm-hmm.
And subcultures fundamentally are sort of just language constructions
Mm-hmm.
and behavior and the behavior effects and social alliance stuff. Oh man, it's so funny. So like it's just so cool to consider all the other things that are going on right now and how all of those are non-duality too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they would have to be. We're talking about the energy of the motion. We're talking about the biggest thing we can talk about when we talk about non-duality, and it must be us. And I don't mean us like our social character, but it must be this thing, whatever this thing is. It must be this.
The aliveness within.
Yeah, or whatever just said that.
Mm-hmm.
The simplicity of blinking and smiling and wiggling and moving and smiling wider, laughing. And this is kind of the joke. It's like, well, there's nothing to get.
Yeah, that is a pretty big joke.
Yeah, it's like, oh, there's nothing to get because
There's
I'm
nothing
the
to get.
right. There's nothing to get. So then because the spiritual search starts with this can't be it. This
Mm-hmm.
can't be. This can't be it.
Yeah, it's got to be something else. It can't be
This
this.
this can't be it. And what's so hilarious is that when that arises and the search starts, we're already as intelligent as we are when it ends. Like, that's hilarious. This can't be it. And the end of the search is this is it.
Yeah. Right.
And it's whatever's happening. And so we're intelligent both places. And then the idea that we're looking is just our like stubborn resistance to our inherent intelligence.
Exactly. It's like
This
a
shouldn't be.
cosmic joke.
Well, it is, because it's really the thought, my life is actually somewhere else, my real life. Like, I'm not supposed to be here
Mm-hmm.
talking to you. This is not my real life. My real life is that other life where every single time I wanted something, I got it. Oh, there we go. I love suffering. We hate not getting what we want. It pisses us off to no end. And we take it personally in a way where we think we're flawed.
Yeah, like something is wrong here.
You didn't get what we wanted. You failed. It's like
Yeah.
it sucks,
Hmm.
but it's not an actual form of our intelligence to believe we're always going to get what we want. I
Hmm.
mean, I think that's us at our silliest.
And isn't that part of what allows you the freedom to really follow your passion in a sense? Because then there's no attachment to some result somewhere in the
Well,
future. There's no attachment to, what if I fail? There's no such even thought. There's just, this is what I'm doing right now.
yeah, well, there's just not the story of success. I wouldn't even say that you have to yeah, I don't know if I get into failure. It's just, I don't believe I can succeed because I'm not going to make it.
Hmm.
So what can I not try? But also, I don't have to. Like, that's also part of the joke. It's like, oh, you mean you can just relax? Yeah, I'm just aging in one spot on an incredible island in a mystery. I can relax? Oh, that's awesome. I will. So it's so funny. Like, it's the end of having anything to prove. You could just fucking be yourself, whatever that is. And when you're excited, you do it. And when you're not, you don't. I mean, it's just this. Describing it's kind of silly.
Right.
It's just this. We're just sitting here. Hey, what's up? We could be anywhere because our stuff really confuses us. This is still just two animals sitting in the savannah, waving at each other through the grass. Like our stuff is just our ideas made manifest.
Hmm.
But everyone's naked under their clothes, and we're all just still sitting here on the thing that grows things.
Hmm. And moving shit around.
Well, yeah, that's one of them. We're also moving around I mean, it's incredible. And part of moving, and then there's violence, which is moving each other around,
Mm.
which is, unfortunate. Because without it, there'd be more making out, which is also moving each other around.
Just with a completely different energy.
One of those feels really nice.
Oh my
I
gosh.
guess it depends on what you're into, actually. My brain's, oh, wait a minute now.
Right, right.
There's just different newtons. Some people like lots of newtons. All right, all right.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah, I got to pick Sandra up tonight at the airport.
Oh, nice. Where is
Yeah,
she
she's coming
coming
in.
from?
She was coming in from visiting with some family back east.
Oh, okay.
They have little kids, and she's tired.
Yeah, yeah.
It's tough living in somebody else's system if it's not your system.
Hmm. Is that how
But that's
she
what oh
feels?
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say
Yeah,
so.
yeah, yeah. Well, just I mean, just kind of like it's just, it's just not. If you, I don't know, as I get older anyway, it's just so nice to have kind of like a little bit of space for myself. Do you find
Hmm.
that? Like you're not like, oh, I want all 12 of my friends to be here all the time.
No, yeah. There's some looking forward to just.
Yeah.
Hmm. And then there's a sweetness about encountering people once you've had that space.
Mm, I agree. I look forward to seeing her. Hmm, it's fun. I was thinking about the 12 friends here. It's like, wait a minute, if I had like 12 friends just sitting around, I,
Yeah.
I could I could feel myself being like, cool, they're all good. I'm gonna go sit outside. Like that's really funny. I could just listen to them and watch them too. That's fun. I grew up playing alone. I really just think I just like being alone.
You
I've
seem
admit,
like.
I thought that the other day. I was like, oh man, you just, I was having a negative judgment. And I was just
Mhm.
like, dude, what are you talking about? You played alone your whole life, and it was always fun. Like, the fact that I talk with people online and get to make the videos is kind of cool.
Mhm.
And I love that I get to go out and see people during these weeks of life. It's just like so cool to live with somebody and just learn about them.
Mhm.
Just be human together. It's like,
Right.
oh man, I just feel so lucky
Did you
and
find the
grateful.
did you find the experience of like having this time alone and then the experience of in a sense sharing your space with another body there, does it still trigger things in you in regards to being challenging, and how, if so, then how do you kind of deal with it? Do you guys just talk about it and
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, well, I'm gonna move out. I mean, because the space is perfect for her business,
Mhm.
And as she says, well, you have a lot of channels.
You have a lot of channels.
Yeah, like you have a lot of visitors.
Uh huh.
You know, because I kind of play the way I do in my life. Like, I love it. It's fun, but obviously it's not for everybody. So I
Mm-hmm.
think there's a little like, okay, you go live somewhere else close by, and
Right.
then we'll have our own spaces. And I actually want that too because we have a little bit of a different aesthetic, and I want a little less stuff and blah blah blah. And I want places to do art and. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't know because I also might just get the sign. This is so cool. I almost might just get the sign and just go wander around and live with people and talk with people and just backpack and but
Mm-hmm.
I love being able to see Sandra more often than not. So
Mm-hmm.
this is the moment, this is the
Mm-hmm.
so she's like, "Oh, you can go away for a while and come back." And there's
Yeah.
it's not permission. It's just it's not even like it's bad for the relationship. I just actually like being around her.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where this is funny. I'm just talking out my process, but
No, I like it. I'm enjoying
because this
it.
is my question, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll see. I'll just do something, obviously, but it's
Mm-hmm.
fun to kind of ponder beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
I don't even know if I make it to the airport. It's just so awesome. Like I love the telescopic nature of thoughts. It's like, oh yeah, I don't know anything.
There is this like quotation mark in your website that says, "I wonder what would happen if I."
Yeah, tinkerer.
Uh huh.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, life is just so funny to test and play with things. I did the sitting around and kind of like, for a while, and then it was like, yeah, that's cool, but now that it's like, okay, I want to play. So I think there's a way that I just like tinkering with stuff because of that. Like, because it's like, I feel like I'm excited to be alive, so I want to tinker with and play with things. And I always have been, because I realize no one's ever going to put me through a rite of passage.
Hmm.
Like a Western society, they just makes you stupid. You go through school and then you get your driver's license and then you're allowed to kill yourself or vote for somebody who's not going to care about you. And then when you're 21, you can finally have a drink and it's just like, what are we doing? So I just looked down the line and I was like, oh, cool. I'm either gonna go work at Target or I'm gonna fucking sit in a college desk and like hope to God I remember what they're saying, and then maybe after that I'll find something to do where I'll make a bunch of money and I'll be
Mm-hmm.
something somebody I don't know. I just was stuck there,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was just like, well, dude, no one's gonna grow you up. You have to grow yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember being 14 and I was scared of the dark. I was just like, I never hung out in the dark. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
you can't learn what you don't know. And so I made myself walk down this tunnel
Mm-hmm.
that was by our house, just right into it. And I just sort of have always been like that. Like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
like, don't fucking be afraid. Because I think
Yeah.
I'm naturally a coward. And I think natural cowards are like, they end up being, well, because it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of sucks to be a sensitive person and to be a little different and to be whatever. But I think we're all that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I've always tinkered. What would happen if I wonder what would happen if I do this? And it's really fun. I mean, it's just really, really fun.
Hmm.
Because for a long time, I believed that somebody had the answer, and then it just dawned on me that how could they? And
Mm-hmm.
even if they did, they can't take a shit from me. I mean, it's just so obvious. It's like I'm this one.
Hmm.
I don't fault anybody at all who's like searching for some kind of answer. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's part of the beauty of being here. I just would encourage, just encourage healthy skepticism
Mm-hmm.
to understand how language affects how language really affects us
Mm-hmm.
and how tone and then to see just listen to how many other sounds are happening all around. That was a good one. Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
There's a sense of relaxation around that too, just being able to get
Hmm.
into it.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Even the sound of my own breathing.
Well, Well, the adrenal glands are directly connected to the brain, and so it makes sense that when we think things in a nervous way, it's going to make us feel nervous. When we stop doing that, obviously we'll calm down.
Mm.
And in that way, I think what's nice about the spiritual community, you could say, is that there's a lot of space for just sort of allowing that social
Mm.
phenomena of people being calm together to happen.
Yes.
Just doesn't actually, I don't think you actually need the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
I think just having places where people can go and be calm together just
Mm-hmm.
naturally
Just,
feels awesome.
yeah, just that field of like, whoa.
Well, we're animals. I mean, imagine before we were, I just, like, yeah, we're social animals. We
Mm-hmm.
like being around each other in a way that, in non-threatening ways.
Mm-hmm.
We like safe around each other. And so sometimes those calm spiritual spaces are one of the, I mean, at this point in history, one of the more conducive places for that.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I really don't think we need any narrative about what it all means. We can just meet in that place.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, even this dialogue of creating this space of like awareness for whatever comes up.
Well, it would have to be this. See, this is funny because we can't even come up with examples for what it could be because the example is the thing. It's like the consciousness cannot take one sniff of a step away from itself.
So yeah, to talk about it is like move.
Ah, it's awesome. Then I think that's the fun part about music. Like music is the part of us that isn't confused.
Yeah, that is not trying to get something.
No way. It's
What?
just it's just expression. I mean, it's early. It's like birds and tone, and it's early language.
Yeah,
Whoa.
pure.
I mean, of course the sound's gonna organize. Oh my God. Fucking so cool. This is what I've learned recently. I've really learned this. Like the most interesting thing for me is to just think. Is to do what I do when I'm not with
Mm-hmm.
anyone, with people. And I've like the last three times I've met with people, one on Skype and two in person.
Mm-hmm.
It's so amazing to not have the teacher space, which I don't usually have it, but I'm kind of like trying to get them somewhere. And it's like, oh my God, that's so annoying. Annoying for me. Because if I just sit here with whoever's with me and just kind of follow along the flow of what they're doing
Mm-hmm.
and think with them as if they're my questions too, then it's just like so much more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And the felt sense of being equal is just totally apparent. Because I think I thought I had to play a role where I'm like, I know something or something. I don't know what it is. There's a way that knowledge has this kind of powerful allure. Or I don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's okay just to go, I don't know, and here's a possibility. I just never knew that. This is fun. I'm just so happy I get to be myself. I really thought I couldn't be myself. It's incredible. Like, do you feel that? Do you feel like you get to be who you are? Like who you are without any apology?
I would say at times, yeah, definitely. And yet at times I find myself doing a little bit of that people pleasing we talked about. And that's when I catch myself like, what is that? Where is that motivation coming from to have to be something for somebody else, to fulfill
Hmm.
something for somebody else's need?
Yeah. I find that's when I like when that comes up, it's because I'm using them for something. So
Yeah.
if I can just feel into what I'm using them for and actually just get clear about it, think about it. Okay, what am I using them for?
Yeah, because in a sense, you don't want the rejection of that. So let's say if my natural
Yes.
instinct is to say no to something, the fear of them rejecting that no is like, why am I attaching myself to their no, to their
Right.
rejection, to my no?
Right.
Like, what is that?
Yeah.
What do I need? What do I feel I need from them? Whether it's approval, love, acceptance, support.
I think there's a way that we like each other. And so there's I was watching when I go to the skate park, it's such a cool environment because there's all kinds of ages and you get to kind of see how like I just get to see how mirror neurons work really. But there's these little kids and they're just I don't know. I lost that thought. Right as I said mirror neurons, I flashed on this memory and it kicked it out. I have a very my attention span and I are we're good friends, but it's obviously I can be a little annoying to talk to me. I met a girl once who was autistic. And, it's so funny how we're all so unique. I met a girl who was autistic. She was 12. She was so great. When I met her, she said, "So when you're talking, I might absolutely drift off, and it's not personal to you. It's just because I lose interest in what you're saying." I remember just feeling like, yes, yes, sensei.
Love you.
Just thank you. I will now try to remember to say that to everyone. But it's really just the feeling of like, wow, we can, yeah, just being ourselves completely without having to lie to each other, which is really neat. And that's what you're talking about when you're talking about approval. It's just that's the only reason we would fake it.
Yeah.
I hope you like me. But I like me. And I assume other people like themselves too. Like, seems like we find each other every now and then and go, isn't it dope? This crazy life thing? Wow. I mean, we made it this far. Like, fucking, we're still alive. We're still so possible. Oh. These things get old. Which is that's such a state of mind because there are 100-year-olds that are better shape than me.
There's no excuse.
Oh, yeah, no. There's no choice either.
It's happening.
Oh, man. Well, I can't go back, and this is what I got, so here we go.
Did you grow up in California?
I did for a part of it. I grew up in Orange County, the city of Orange and Orange County, and then I grew up in Wildomar, which is down near Temecula, an hour above San Diego. And that was great. When I started in Connecticut for 8 years, and then we moved to Orange, and then later went to Temecula. But when I came from Connecticut, I grew up playing alone in the woods, and then I get here, and the first kid I meet had a skateboard, and I was like, well, I want one of those. Because that just looks like you get to roll away from them.
From those people.
Yeah, I was like, I want to be able to roll away from them. And so I, yeah, obviously got one, and I've been playing on one for a long time. But my, I don't know, like Orange County, I guess what I want to say is like, it's so amazing that we're all affected by everything we've experienced. Like it literally shapes how we respond to things. And I think that can change. I think that's kind of the idea of awakening, is that there's a sort of changing of that process.
Like a reprogramming or letting go of the program?
Yeah, I would say it's more like a composting of all kind of like the yesterday is still happening. I really think it's a, I don't know what it is in all honesty. I don't even know if I know what the word means. But I think it's just the fact that wherever you grow up, like creates you. It's just so funny. I don't know why it's blowing me away because it seems so unprofound when I'm looking at it. It's like, yeah, dude, like You're a meat sponge. You soak up everything that happens to you.
Yeah.
But I think, I guess, in that, in relationship to taking it personally or even blaming other people for being the way they are, it's like, how could anybody be otherwise?
Mm-hmm.
If nobody got to choose their life, why would we?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, why would we blame them for it?
Hmm.
Seems like there's a unifying feeling in there somewhere. Like compassion lives somewhere close to that.
Right. To, in a sense, embrace each person's unique experience and sensibility, in a sense of how they present themselves or how they are in life.
I
Maybe.
think so. Well, without being Pollyanna-ish about it or even naive in the way that, where it is more chaotic than can be tied up into a nice bow.
Hmm.
There are what we would say good and bad experiences, and a hurricane, a tidal wave, a fire, a drive-by, a cancer. There's many ways to
Mm-hmm.
generate the, oh shit, I really like this life thing, I hope it doesn't go soon feeling.
Mm.
And so I think it's just being open to the chaos. When you turn on the news and you hear that, like, a bomb went off in Boston, it's like, yeah, that sucks. And of course it did.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than that sucks and that shouldn't have happened.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the suffering is. It's like believing there's a time machine.
Mm.
Yeah. The fact that there's no time machine is just the coolest thing. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah,
Do you sing? I see musical equipment back there.
no, I don't. I actually don't. This
Yeah.
is my friend's studio, and
Nice.
I'm his music guy, and I'm just kicking it. I wish I had a music bone in my body, but it ain't happening.
And it's not music and go
Yeah, exactly.
back to it, back to it, back to it, back to it. That was cool. That was like elephant rumble. Yes.
Oh gosh. Do you
I mean,
meditate?
we're so lucky there's dancing and singing. Do I meditate? No, skateboarding, and I just do what I love.
Mm-hmm.
Just do what I love.
That
The
is
other day,
form of meditation.
I found the belief nugget, like, contraction of um, meditation plus time equals good, bad, success.
Mm.
Like the early training of meditation is like, well, sit for 30 minutes. So it's like, okay, sit for 30 minutes. It's like a Pavlovian kind of thing. And so all of a sudden it's like, okay, cool. And so I sit there and sit there. Okay, cool. And it's like, oh, I've been sitting for this. And we quantify the experience, but the whole
Mm.
thing it up. Like, we're just here. I did all that here. And without any quantification, it's just another experience. So then why wouldn't I just do what I love, since either way I end up in the same place?
I love it.
I mean, it- yeah, yeah. And I think meditation is in some ways very valuable, but untimed and only in a natural way. No
Mm,
force, no forcing.
mm,
No, okay, I'm going to sit for this long. Like, why quantify the very living reality of you?
yes. Because then it becomes just another form or some kind of obligation that you impose on yourself. I gotta do this every day for 30 minutes, otherwise.
Yeah, and it becomes a believable formula. It's actually a believable thing. Like it becomes like, oh, well, I sat for 30 minutes every day for 10 years. It becomes something that feels like it adds up to something, but the only thing it could add up to is whatever was sitting there every single second that whole time. I mean, even it's ridiculous. It's funny, like, quantification around so-called experiences say nothing about where that information is being heard and where we're hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you sit down with any spiritual teacher, it's fine that they're there. It's fine that they're doing what they want, but just realize you can walk right up to them and just like poke them in the shoulder. I mean, they're in the same spot you're in. It's like a useful thing to go, oh yeah, hold on, hold on. So, if, I mean, and especially if you go listen to them with like earplugs on and just experiment with the whole phenomena of satsang, and you can begin to kind of take it apart. You can see the theater performance part of it.
Mm,
It's just useful again for that sort of be skeptical
right.
invitation. It's either going to happen or not, which is one of the things that blows me away the most. Like the person listening to this cannot help it. That is just so awesome. Because, oh yeah, it's so cool. It's just so cool.
You gotta pick up Sandra.
I do. Yeah, thank you.
You're
Actually, I have
welcome.
some time, but
You
8
tell me
o'clock.
when you're done. You tell me when
Oh,
you're ready. You got.
we're just, I could go now because I need to shave.
Sure, go.
It's, oh,
You gotta look good.
well, it's the metal-like
Mm.
spikes that come off the end of the skin. I mean, like, I've kissed a man. It was like, yep, those things are pokey. So, so like, and I like it smooth too, so I'm gonna take it down and then.
Okay, sounds good.
But these are just part of our world. It's been wonderful to talk with you.
Oh, it's been amazing to talk with you too. Thank you so much for experience this edge of life with me for right now. It's awesome.
Yeah, inevitable.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I hope you have a great day, whatever you do.
Okay, you too. Thank you.
Bye.
Mwah. Bye.
Bye. Bye.